Today, I recreated Peach's castle from Super Mario 64 in Minecraft. So I booted up Minecraft, made a new world, took a video for reference, and I'm going to use this 3D model for the basic layout, and recreated Peach's castle from Super Mario 64. Here's how. Also, just before we start, I just want to give a big shout out to Augustin Marin for recommending this to me. But this dude speaks Spanish, so
let me put it in a language you can understand.
Gracias por recomendar esto. Espero que disfrute este video que es para ti. And thanks to all these people who commented on my recreating in Minecraft videos. Now, let's actually get to the building. So I started building the beginning path thing that leads over to the castle. If you look at it closely, it kind of looks like a tiny bent golf club, so I just made that. Now I started building the path that goes over to beside the waterfall, and the one that goes in front of the castle, past the castle, to the right of it. Basically, for the next part, I was just building the path, so not that interesting. And for the bridge, I used some acacia wood. And I realized I was in a super flat world, so when I started building down beside the bridge to make the moat, so you can't build underneath the bedrock, so I just recreated the entire path and bridge like 12 blocks above. So after I did that, I built the hill that kind of goes up to the bridge that leads to the front of the castle. And the grass looked a little too light for actual grass, so I just used some lime wool. And over here in the corner, as you can see, it's not a perfect 90-degree angle. It was kind of curved, so I had to do that. And then I filled it all in with wool. So then I started building the grass that surrounds the path. And then as you can see here, there's kind of a hill that leads up to this path, so I kind of made it out of grass. Doesn't look that good, but it's the best I can do. Yeah, and for a next big chunk of time, I was just working on the grass and the paths. Not that much to say. So for this part, as you can see, the grass ends right here, and I had no way to do this with lime wool. I could use carpet, but that wouldn't look good. For some reason, I picked wood instead of sandstone for this part. So if I wanted to do that and make the wool lime, I would need an item frame and put a map there that's fully a sand like dirt. Because as you can see here, this is different than this. So for this, I'm going to use sand, and for this, I'm going to use the maps. So I filled a big area in with a bunch of birch logs, and then I made a map out of it and put it on all the item frames. And as you can see under here, this part is actually brick, so I did that. For the next big chunk of time, I just put a bunch of maps on the side. Now I started building grass on the right side of the castle, and then I started building this wall that was white. So I just used some smooth quartz blocks. So it took a while to make the wall until I realized this 3D model is inaccurate, and the wall is actually grass. And because in the fill command there's no lime wool, I'm gonna have to manually replace all this. This took a lot of time, so I'd appreciate a subscribe and a like. So after I did that, I started building the castle. For the bridge, I used some stone bricks and dead brain coral block. And then I made this little part that goes in, and for the door, I used an acacia door. So then I started building the basic outline of what the castle's gonna look like. Then I started turning the layout into the actual wall. I used some fill commands, and that seemed good. Now I started making the bottom of the moat. For the bottom of the moat, I decided to use some cobblestone. And then for this staircase right here, I used some stone brick stairs. And then I started making the outside area of the pond. And for the ground, I obviously used sand. And for this part, it comes out like this as a little hill underwater, so I started making that. Then I made these underwater rocks with some polished andesite stairs. Now I started building the waterfall. So it's in the corner over here, so I was gonna have to make some adjustments to the grass wall to make it fit. I decided to use some sandstone for the actual waterfall, and then I'll add water later. So I added some barriers on the side so the water doesn't go where it's not supposed to be, and then I put the water. It actually turned out pretty good, and it flowed down the waterfall where I wanted it to. And now it's time for putting the actual water in the pond in the moat. I had to make an entire layer of cobblestone, and then from the bottom of the block, I would place the water there. It actually worked out pretty well, but for some reason on the maps, the water wouldn't go inside the block where the map was, so I decided to get rid of all the maps. I know this was a big decision to make, but whatever. So then I started making some adjustments to the waterfall, and for the ground here, it's different than over here, so I just used some lodestone. And then I started making the outside wall of the map. It's probably hard to understand, but I basically just do this. And then in my mind, I had a really good debate if it should be cut copper stairs or red nether brick stairs for the roof. So it was actually really, really close. So I went on an online spinner, and red nether brick won. But as this little stubborn child I am, I picked copper. Then after I built the first level of the roof, I realized I could use brick stairs. Ruh-roh. I'm just gaming right now. What's happening? So I started making this big pillar thing. It was kind of hard, but it was fine. So after I did that, I built this tall part, and then added the roof on top of that, and I was done the basic layout. Now it's time for the details. So first I obviously added some windows on the castle. So after I did that, I made this painting of Peach. And then I made a giant stone platform to make a painting again, except this time it was for this part. So then I put it around here and it looked pretty good. So then I started putting some red flags on top of the pillars. I just put them all red, even though some might not be red, but it's fine. It looks good still. So now I have the entire castle finished. Now it's time for the trees. But first I did the fences, and I used jungle fences for this. So I added some signs, and of course I typed random stuff. And then I made my trees manually because it's wool and you can't plant trees on wool. Kahoot time! Why are the trees so packed together? A, because the trees in the actual game are really small, or B, the entire map is not perfectly built on a 1-to-1 scale. You got it wrong. The answer is both. And then I planted some more trees, and then I was done. This took a lot of time to make, so I'd appreciate a subscribe, like, and maybe comment some feedback or something nice. I've been getting some requests to have a montage of clips from the world, so here it is. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week when I recreate Womp's Fortress. Goodbye.